Is the stock band on your Galaxy Watch 9 actually holding you back? A loose-fitting third-party strap can leave a gap right where the bioactive sensor needs skin contact. And that gap is the difference between accurate heart rate data and garbage readings during a workout. We're not ranking these 5 by looks or by price. We're ranking them by fit precision against that sensor, breathability, and how the closure holds up when you're sweating through a session. 5. ULTIMAL Breathable Replacement Band. Starting at the bottom, the ULTIMAL Breathable Replacement Band is the strap most people grab first because it's cheap, it's easy to find, and on paper, it checks every box. Silicone build, quick release pins, adjustable punch hole sizing. And for casual, low-intensity wear, it does the job. The perforated design lets some air through, which matters because the Galaxy Watch 9's bioactive sensor sits flush against your skin, and any trapped sweat between the band and your wrist can throw off both heart rate and skin temperature readings over a long session. Here's where it starts to show its budget roots, though. Unlike Samsung's own Sport Band, which uses the dynamic lug system to pull the watch head close to your wrist with almost no gap, a generic punch hole buckle band only gets you as tight as the nearest hole allows. If your wrist size lands between 2 holes, you're stuck choosing between slightly loose and too tight. And slightly loose is exactly the scenario that creates sensor lift during exercise, which is when accurate tracking matters most. It's also worth flagging for anyone who runs a screen protector or watch face bumper. The band's connector clearance is built for a bare watch case, so a thicker protective bumper can crowd the pin mechanism on some wrist sizes. The quick release pins themselves are functional. You can swap it in under a minute without tools, but they're the standard spring bar type rather than Samsung's tool-free lug latch. So line up the pin carefully on install, or you risk scratching the case back. Verdict: fine as a spare band for lounging around the house or for someone who wants a cheap backup color. But it's not the one to trust for gym sessions or runs where sensor accuracy actually counts. If a snug, consistent fit against your wrist matters to you, this is the one to skip. At number 4, the next pick swaps that hit or miss punch hole sizing for something that actually locks itself down. 4. Nereides Breathable Adjustable Band. Nereides' magnetic silicone band for the Galaxy Watch 9 fixes the exact sizing gap the ULTIMAL band struggles with. Instead of buckle holes, it uses a full magnetic closure. So instead of picking between 2 fixed lengths, you can dial in the fit anywhere across roughly a 6.3 to 8.7 inch wrist range. That continuous adjustment is the difference maker here. You can actually snug the band down until the bioactive sensor sits flat, rather than settling for whatever the nearest hole gives you. The band also carries a matte, UV-treated silicone finish, which does double duty. It's less slick than glossy silicone against sweaty skin, so it doesn't slide around mid-run. And the UV treatment is designed to slow the yellowing and surface degradation that cheap silicone bands develop after months in direct sun. That's a real advantage over straps with no UV additive, which can start looking dingy within a season of daily outdoor wear. One more thing to flag. Because the sizing is magnetic overlap rather than fixed holes, larger wrists, above roughly 8.7 inches, may find the adjustable range runs out before the band. Smaller wrists get more overlap flexibility than they need. Check the sizing chart on the listing before ordering. Verdict: a strong daily wear upgrade over pin and buckle bands, especially if you want a no-gap fit without fiddling with holes. Just not the one for high-impact sports. 3. Stainless Steel Classic Business Band. This next pick abandons silicone entirely and moves into metal, which changes the entire conversation around comfort and use case. The stainless steel link-style band is built for the office, not the gym. A classic dress watch look that pairs the Galaxy Watch 9 with a shirt cuff far better than any silicone strap can. Steel bands in this category typically use a fold-over or push-button clasp rather than a buckle or magnet, which gives a genuinely secure, no-slip hold once it's sized correctly.
You're not relying on friction or magnetism at all. The honest catch is comfort under sweat. Metal bands don't breathe. And unlike the perforated silicone options higher and lower on this list, a solid steel link band traps heat and moisture against the skin during any real physical activity. If you wear this to the gym, expect a noticeably clammier wrist by the end of a session, and expect to clean sweat residue out of the links more often than you would with silicone. Trapped moisture in link joints is also where corrosion and skin irritation both start on lower-grade steel over time. Weight is the other trade-off worth naming. A full metal band adds meaningfully more heft to the watch than any silicone or nylon option on this list, which some people love for the premium feel, and others find fatiguing on the wrist by the end of a 12-hour day. Verdict: The best-looking option here for business and formal settings, and genuinely secure once fitted. But treat it as a second band for the office, not your only strap if you're active. Before the final two, here's the pattern worth noticing. Every band so far forces a trade-off. Sizing precision, sweat resistance, or comfort, but rarely all three at once. The next two are where that starts to change. 2. Bandletic Classic Band. Bandletic's Classic line splits the difference between the dressy steel option above and the sport silicone bands elsewhere on this list, and it's the strongest all-rounder here for that reason. Bandletic builds its Galaxy Watch lineup around a dual security closure philosophy across its band range, pairing a mechanical lock with a secondary retention feature rather than relying on one closure method alone, which on the Classic band translates to a link or mesh-style metal construction with a secure clasp that doesn't require constant readjustment once it's dialed in. Where this pulls ahead of the plain steel link band at spot 3 is finish and daily livability. Bandletic's metal bands lean toward a brushed or mesh design rather than solid polished links, which improves airflow slightly and makes the band noticeably lighter on the wrist over a full day. It still isn't a sport band, and it won't outbreathe silicone, but among metal options, it's the more wearable choice for someone who wants a premium look without dressing it exclusively for the office. Sizing also follows the same rule as most metal bands. Dial it in once with the adjustment mechanism the listing describes, and it stays put. But getting that first fit right takes a few more minutes than snapping a silicone strap into a punch hole. Verdict. The best metal option on this list if you want one band that can go from a meeting straight into evening errands without looking like gym gear. Just keep it out of the pool. 1. TiMOVO Silicone Replacement Band. The band that wins this list goes back to silicone, and it wins because it solves the exact problem that put ULTIMAL at the bottom. TiMOVO builds its Galaxy Watch 9 straps around a no-gap design cut specifically to the shape of the 2026 Watch 9 case, rather than a generic universal curve, meaning the band sits flush against the watch head with essentially zero space at the connector, which keeps the strap, and by extension the watch itself, closer to your wrist than a loosely shaped generic band ever will. That tighter, purpose-cut fit is exactly what the bioactive sensor benefits from during workouts, which is the entire ranking criteria for this list. The material itself is soft-touch silicone rather than a stiffer rubber compound, which matters for all-day comfort. It flexes with your wrist instead of pressing back against it, and it's genuinely sweat and water resistant for gym sessions, showers, and swimming, without the trapped moisture downside metal bands carry. TiMOVO also ships this strap with quick-release spring pins, so swapping it takes seconds without tools. And depending on which listing variant you land on, some versions come as multi-packs, which is a real value advantage if you like rotating colors instead of buying single straps repeatedly. Verdict. The most balanced pick on this list. The fit precision of a purpose-cut band, the comfort of silicone, and water resistance that actually holds up to real workouts. Recap. Best for casual/spare use, ULTIMAL. Cheap, breathable, fine for low-intensity days. Best for no-fuss daily sizing, Nereides. Magnetic closure, dials in anywhere on.
The range. Best for the office, stainless steel classic business band, the most formal look here. Best all-rounder metal option, Bandletic Classic, lighter and more livable than solid steel. Best overall/winner, TiMOVO Silicone Replacement, the tightest sensor fit plus real sweat resistance. If you're chasing accurate workout tracking, Start with the TiMOVO band at the top of this list. If you just want an office-ready look, the Bandletic or stainless steel picks will serve you better than any silicone strap ever will. Links to every band in this countdown are below. Check the description.